Hey, what's up guys, this is Oakley and we'll be doing a multiplayer battle. This is myself playing as the Saxons versus Ghost from the Bear Clan, and he's going to be demonstrating why Tagmata Cav is OP, and we played a couple battles. If you guys haven't heard, the Tagmata Cav actually do have a lot of really crazy stats, and so some of the builds you'll probably be seeing a lot online is bringing 6 of these Tagmata Cav. They have some really crazy stats. They have a lot of health, armor, especially attack. These guys are notoriously cheap. I believe it's 860 talents, and so these guys are going to be very, very hard to kill, very cost effective. You can go ahead and check out this video here made by Indie Pride, where you see them 1v1 taking on Indian armored elephants, which costs like 260 or 2600 talents. So these guys right now are a bit broken, and so what we're going to try and do is play a little bit of battles to see how you can perhaps try and counter these. Now they will have to be nerfed. And so we're going to see, okay, before they're nerfed, is there any real way to counter them? And it seems like you are going to try and have to use skirmishers. These guys have such high health and all that stuff going on that throwing units against them, expensive units, is going to be very hard to pull off cost effectively. So what you're going to have to do is trade cheap units. The way you trade cheap units against them is by using these types of Nordic skirmishers and javelins, anything you can do to pull off some easy armor penetration without actually engaging with those guys. So, yep, I'm going to pull out here and let you look at the 2 army builds. What I decided to do in this battle was bring a decent amount of skirmishers, pikes, spears, dogs, and skirmisher cav. The skirmisher cav is over in the back. I'll pull those into the battlefield later once we're engaged. But the reason I bring dogs was a recommendation of Ghost, and what I've seen some other people say is you bring dogs not because they are really effective at killing or anything. They cost 100 talents. What they're going to be used for is to break up enemy charges. So you wait for the Tagmata Cav to get close, chase them with the dogs. The dogs will get run over, but they'll catch the Tagmata Cav for about 2-3 seconds or so. And in that 2-3 seconds, that's when you have to pounce with skirmishers nearby. So it's all going to be about trying to pull in the opponent with cheap units and then suck them in and then do a lot of damage with skirmishers. And that's pretty micro-intensive and very hard to build, very hard to pull off. Whereas if you're the one with the Tagmata Cav, I mean, they're pretty much heat-seeking missiles that can destroy anything they come up against. Follow that up with, they're very cheap, and then you have these robust Legio Comitatenses that you can bring, and then Ballistari, and you could just really toy with your opponent. I believe Ghost was able to use this type of build and is now at the top of the leaderboard. So this is something you'll be seeing a lot of online, and it's something you definitely have to try and knock out. So one of my tactics was to bring these Nordic Raiders. You can deploy them outside of your deployment zone, and so I'm going to be bringing them into the rear. I don't believe Ghost sees these forces yet, so my idea was to come into the back, start peppering these forces, and then myself start, I don't know, retreating. It's hard to move up. You can see how he's keeping his Tagmata cavalry close to the support of his Ballistari. There's not much I can do to counter that. I do have some of my own cav who's going to move out and try and pull his guys out of position. You can see the Tagmata cav already starting to sort of take the bait. Ghost is, of course, a very good player, and he's not really going to do that. He's just going to be pushing enough to get me away from his Ballistari, move these guys up, and then, of course, engage with fire shots. Fire shots are way more effective than normal shots. You might as well just use fire shots. He's going to hit my Nordic band. Good for me. The Nordic band are actually very, very cheap troops. That's what I said. You should bring some cheap fodder units. And so they're going to be here just mostly as a road bump against the enemy forces. Allow me to get some more javelins. Now, I was trying to hopefully get his Tagmata Cav with some of those javelins. Some of them did penetrate through, but it's not really going to be doing much. Comitatenses are going to be engaging against my guys. And then over in the rear, I have 2 of these skirmishers who are able to get actually behind this. Let's watch. I got 2 full volleys against these Tagmata Cav, and a lot of the shots just bounce off. So you're going to have to take a lot of repeated skirmishing to take these guys out. And I'm going to get a countercharge on these Legio Comitatenses, try and devastate his infantry while sacrificing a really cheap unit. But again, the advantage of the build he's bringing is he has these Ballistari that can then just destroy my cavalry. He's going to engage one of his Tagmata where, they'll do a lot on the charge, but also once they're in combat, there's nothing you can do to stop them. So that's why I have pikes here to try and deal with those guys. I have a couple dog units that I've been bringing over to this part of the fight just to silence his Ballistari. And then my skirmisher cav over here trying to get into the rear of this force and just continue to pepper them. Hopefully do a little bit of damage against his Ballistari. That's something you have to do, is try and knock out those Ballistari. But again, another volley that I'm committing against these Tagmata cav, but they are still not dropping their huge health. And I'm going to continue to wheel about in the other positions, hold the center against, javelin against javelin forces. and then kind of try and hold back the Ballistari with some cheap Nordic skirmishers. So I'm just trying to buy time to see if I can eliminate some of these forces on this position. I countercharged his Tagmata with Lancers. Now the advantage of Shock Cav is that you can get good initial damage. The downside is, against Tagmata Cav especially, look, I brought these guys down by like 14 men, but once the charge bonus wears off, my Saxon Lancers are not going to have enough damage to deal with these guys. So you'll take out a good chunk of them in the first bit, and then in sustained combat you're going to lose. So that's why I'm trying to tell my pikes to move forward. They're not really doing it. Meanwhile, over here he's continuing to just chew through my men. My heroic cavalry with 2 veterancy, not even holding up to these cheaper Tagmata Cav who are going to be absolutely thrashing my men. Over in the center, I was going to try and do a countercharge against his guys. Cavalry is going to be pulled in here, so I was trying to get his Tagmata Cav. You can see my Nordic Raiders there trying to pull in his Tagmata Cav into this position. Bait him in with Nordic Raiders and kind of draw him back into my skirmishers and my pikes. So trying to do everything to deal as much damage to these Tagmata. Meanwhile, over here, I'm bringing in some more forces, Nordic Axe Warriors, to hold back his committed tenses. My Lancers are now going to start plummeting, and his guys are going to pretty much stabilize. I do have some skirmisher troops targeting his Tagmata, so I'm doing a good job of targeting those guys, tying up the rest of his forces, pulling his Tagmata into range where I can start peppering them with javelins, and then delaying the rest of his push. But even this is not going to be enough. And let's see actually if they charge into pikes. So this build is doing a pretty good job of countering the Tagmata, I would have to say. And this was Ghost helped me put this together, but still, I mean, you can see they ran right into this pike line, and they still have huge numbers. And so with 6 units that your enemy can potentially bring, if they're good mannered, usually contest rules say max 6 of 1 unit, but you could see people rocking a lot more than 6 Tagmatas online, and that's gonna be a huge problem. And then I countercharge these Tagmata here, so I'm hoping to take them out, move my general into this position to try and flank the Roman infantry. And then he has more Tagmata they can just pull out into this fight. Very problematic for me. So I'm going to reposition, continue to try and do some back shots. These Tagmata are still holding in, a lot of javelins coming in, only peppering some of his forces. Countercharge his Tagmata cavalry, and I'm doing that to provide cover for my Nordic raid leader to perhaps get into the fight with the Tagmata and close ranks. Then I'm going to charge his Legio committed tenses. Keep in mind that Ghost is a good player, and now he's going to say, okay, enough fooling around, let's commit. He gets huge volleys off with these Ballistari against my general, and he brought him down by 30 men almost. Going to countercharge another Tagmata, so I'm focusing a lot on eliminating those Tagmata. I have more dogs to chase after his Ballistari. I really have to keep those guys off my back. Countercharging all his Legios. But still, these guys, I had pikes helping these cavalry, I had these heroic Saxon Lancers, I had skirmisher cav, all trying to help beat these Tagmata, but they're still alive. And even if you just leave a couple of these guys, then they'll go ahead and wrap up the rear of your forces. It's a huge problem with cavalry. They're so strong in this game, and if you add the broken Tagmata to it, it makes this game pretty difficult. I've committed some dogs. The dogs are pretty good. You can throw the dogs themselves into combat, which will hold up a whole enemy detachment, and then send the dog handlers just to hold back the forces while you try and do damage. But leaving some of his crossbowmen over there open, they can deal so much damage to your Nordic raid leader. So I think Ghost has really found the perfect build at this moment that is almost undefeatable. The Tagmata Cav can do so much damage, the Ballistari can do so much damage, the Roman infantry can do so much damage. It's really, really hard to counter, so I'm doing my best. But this is just a showcase to try and see just how hard it is to defeat these guys. I am trying to stabilize back here. I've been able to break some of his forces, but there he goes. He breaks another one of my Cav. I'm going to break his Legios here, hopefully soon. The rest of my forces are committed against his Legios there. I'm going to try and pull back my general, but another Tagmata. When you have 6 of these guys, there's just, you get overwhelmed, and so here they go. They're going to be chasing after my general unit, and if he can take out my general unit, that's going to be a huge blow to me. So his Ballistari are going to be fixing on doing just that. And I really should have kept my general back out of the action, but I felt I had to commit him to help take out the opponents. And then once your general goes down, that's going to be it. You can see the chain route starting to occur. There goes my javelins, there goes, some of my other forces, my pikes, all my guys trying to deal with the enemy crossbowmen, and then it all collapses and goes to hell. So if you're going to try and counter the opponent, good luck to you. If you play against a good player like Bear or Ghost from the Bear Clan, it's going to be very hard to develop a counter build. I'm sure people will come up with some sort of gimmicky way to do it, but at the moment I would have to say it's pretty broken. So anyways, I hope you enjoy this exposure of the Tagmata Cav. Go ahead and take a look at Indie Pride's video where he goes into just the sheer stats on these guys and their devastating effect in more depth. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. Let's go ahead and look at some of the Tagmata kills. Yeah, so maybe not ridiculous amounts on them, but for the cost effectiveness, they definitely did very, very well. I mean, my Cav did kind of competently, but I paid more for some of these troops. The dog's not doing too much. They were just mostly intercept duty, and my general, yep, getting no kills. So these Ballistari are almost as important to the plan as the Tagmata Cav. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.